Nature's Dirty Little Secrets. This was a topic of the panel discussion held at the New Life Baptist Church on Sunday night. The panel spoke on matters affecting the community, namely child abuse, domestic abuse, crime, and unhealthy adult-children relationships. The panelists also responded to questions from members of the audience who wanted a clearer picture on how these social ills affect the territory. Walter Barrett has this report.
Stacey Stout James, Inspector Patrick Harewood, Sergeant Kendall Bob, and Minister Henderson Tittle each addressed one of four issues affecting today's community. Speaking on the topic of child abuse, Stacey Stout James said that the territory's child abuse legislation does outline those who are required by law to report any and all suspected cases of child abuse, such as educators and healthcare professionals. She said persons not adhering to the law are in fact committing a felony.
We have legislation that addresses children issues within our BVI territory. We have the Children and Young Persons Act 2005 that specifically addresses child abuse. It speaks to mandatory reporters, which includes educators, healthcare professionals, social workers, employees of any voluntary organization that deals or comes into direct contact with children and immediate family members. If any of the persons that I mentioned before does not report, under this legislation, they commit an offense by law and is liable on summary conviction to a fine not exceeding $6,000 or imprisonment for a term not exceeding 3 years. Section 6 of the Children and Young Person Act gives social workers the power to remove and file a current protection application in favor of any child that has been abused or neglected.
Addressing the issue of crime, Inspector Harewood said that with the age of technology that we live in, much has been allowed to enter the territory, some of which is negative. And he said that many times persons in responsible positions say and do nothing to correct the issue.
As a society, we have created all sorts of things to happen in this era as we talk about development, information age, technology age, all sorts of things are coming into the territory. I was at the bank one time, and there was a young man behind me with a radio loud. But it wasn't the fact that the music was loud, it was the type of music he was playing. And you can hear the violence and the curse words, you just name it. And he was feeding his mind with that information. But it's in the territory, and we allow it, and we put up with it. We don't say anything wrong with it. Sometimes we might have a problem with it, but unfortunately, people have a tendency not to say anything about it. And this is often the case because even people in responsible positions will talk to the persons that they are annoyed with, but don't say anything. Will call the police and say, there's a problem, I want you to address it. And who are the persons they're reporting? And times they're persons that they talk to on a regular basis. And they're their relatives, they're their friends, but yet they won't say anything about it. I don't understand that.
Meanwhile, Sergeant Bob looked at the issue of domestic abuse and shared some startling statistics that show a dramatic increase in this area from 2009 to now. According to the statistics given, the number of reported incidents for the 2012 year have already amounted to half of the total reported cases for last year.
In all, we have 69 reports in 2009. In 2010, in all, there were 84 reports. In 2011, in all, there were 87 reports. So far this year, to match 2012, there were 22 reports of common assaults, 4 reports of assault occasioned actually bodily harm, 2 reports of burglary, 9 reports of criminal damage, and so far we have 41 reported cases.
Another negative practice that came to light at Sunday's discussion was that of unhealthy adult-child relationships. Minister Tittle asked the parents and guardians at the panel discussion if they would notice some of the signs that may indicate their children are at risk of being in an unhealthy relationship with an older person.
What if your 16-year-old son, who is still in school, come home with new shoes, brand new clothes, jewelry, spending money. Would you know who is giving him the money or the clothes? Will this raise a red flag? Will you pay attention? Will you notice it? Will you ask questions? Vice versa. If your daughter starting to dress differently and buying new clothes, you didn't give her any money to buy any clothes, have more money than you give her for her allowance, uncle didn't give her any money, has a change of attitude because now she's running with the big boys, so she feel fresh. Like my grandma would say, she started to smell herself, so she feel like she have arrived. Would you notice or would you recognize this?
Each of the presenters at Sunday's event also responded to questions from the audience on the issues that were brought to the table during the panel discussion. In addition, they left some advice on how persons as individuals and as a collective community could combat some of the dirty little secrets that continue to plague society. This is Walter Barrett for JTV News.